answering the bit about the justification, that is, you're providing rationale for why we need to have a land and environmental defenders task force, but you're also going to be looking at the scope of work. What should this task force be able to do? Then when we're done with that, we will then return, listening from the two different groups. Each group will have about 3 minutes to make its presentation. After we're done with that, we will now move to the next phase of constituting this task force. And we're going to constitute this task force according to 4 thematic groups, yeah? 4 thematic groups. So as you're deliberating, you could also think about where you want your organization to fall. So the first thematic group will be security services, yeah? These are for organizations that provide security services, both physical and digital security services. So you could, decide to volunteer to be a part of this. The other bit will be, the other thematic group will be around psychosocial services, and there was someone who talked about the need for land and environmental defenders to be able to have some sort of psychosocial support. So organizations that do psychosocial support could also volunteer here. And also, in case there's an organization that is not here that we can approach to be part of these thematic groups, you are also free to suggest that. The third thematic group is on legal assistance. This is where the lawyers come in. People talked about the need for standby lawyers, for lawyers to be able to provide support for some of these processes. So we'll have a thematic group on legal assistance. And lastly, but by no means least, we'll have a thematic group on advocacy. And this group will be mainly charged with the mandate of ensuring that we have more advocacy for some of the threats and the risks that land and environmental defenders go through. Is this very clear to us? Do we have any questions? Do we have any queries before we delve into our groups? Yes, please.
So, thank you so much. I to think that in constitution of the task, this way. So my name is Achom Rebecca Dile. I am representing the EDFM Nature Uganda. She couldn't make it here. So one of the things I realized in your constituting, from all the panelists, one thing that came up clearly was that they have a lot of documentations, a lot of back and forth with media, and there's not a clear channel of how information, especially since they're coming from different communities, that what the issues that are happening are being highlighted and profiled. We know as Uganda what is happening with our media. So I am thinking while we constitute this, we need to have a task force that is patent into the issues of profiling these issues, not just advocacy, but also to speak to media and profiling the stories and all these images that come from the communities. So I think this is something that should be added here. I don't know, in this we could include it somewhere.
That is a very pertinent issue. I don't know whether the members can we agree to maybe rename advocacy to have bits of research, documentation, and advocacy, because of course advocacy has to be driven by some level of research. So can we agree to rename advocacy, research, documentation, and advocacy? Research and advocacy. That is very okay. Okay. Okay, so maybe when we are classifying what this group is going to be doing, we will get into those different details of doing the research, monitoring, learning, evaluation, and then, because of course it's very important, it is very important, because as we do this advocacy, we need to also look back and learn and make sure that we're drawing lessons that can push us to be better. So thank you so much for that Very, very helpful question. Do we have any other question, or can we forever hold our peace for now? For now, we can forever hold our peace. All right, that's great. So it's currently, and I really want us to push this very fast so that we can then, have lunch and then return to office and move this other work that we're doing. So, all right, can we have group one this side? Yeah, if you belong to group one, can you please converge this side? We have about 10 minutes for that discussion to happen. And then we will have group two this side. We'll also use 10 minutes. So it's currently 1:07. So if we use 10 minutes, that means by 1:17 we should be back and ready to present on those two questions. So good luck, and looking forward to the presentations.
diversify and support each other differently from what we're doing. And as well to strengthen referrals and pathways. It is also to help enable exchange learning from organizations across. We believe this task force will help us learn from each other, but as well grow our strengths. The task force is for building synergy, resilience, concerted support to speak to government on issues of land and environmental justice as a team. As you've seen many of the members explain, they're saying they've been having a lot of intimidations. We believe under this task force as a solidified initiative, we'll be able to support and have a strengthened voice together. It is also for resource mobilization and sustained campaigns on land rights, especially in Uganda. We believe this will help with resource mobilization as a grouping. And there's been speaking to a lot of issues of conflict within members, where you're seeing there's been issues that have not been resolved. We believe under the task force there could be a team of conflict resolution or a conflict resolution hub for issues that may arise within the member organizations. So the second question, what scope of work is of the task force? So we looked at scope of work from two aspects, that is geography and context. The geography we see is Uganda, and the context we are looking at is from campaign areas to do with issues like one, land grabbing, the extractive industry, we have seen a lot of extractions happening, encroachment to do with land encroachments, food security and agriculture, infrastructure and development, and land use planning in many aspects. We also saw the issue of climate change, which is patent, we've seen happening a lot. So our scope of work, as we've said, in our structuring will be the entire Uganda. Thank you.
I think she deserves a better round of applause, away from her group, but everyone else. Thank you so much.
Good afternoon, everyone. Ruth, representing Group 2. So our first question was on justification of having the Land and Environment Task Force. Number one, we looked at, because of the rampant environment and land issues in Uganda as a nation in all regions, we need a task force as soon as possible. Number two, we looked at the issue of resources in terms of legal services, in terms of medical services, in terms of media. So one person may not be able to pull this off, but if we work together, we can be able to pull off from different people. Publicity. When the task force can create awareness of the different violations and human rights violations that they are going through. Number four, we looked at aid and support of documentation. We cannot emphasize the issue of evidence and data collection because it helps in policy, coming up with policies and reporting these issues when it comes to legal matters. Network and platforms. When we work together and we know that we have a background and unity, that we are a backbone that we can rely on, it helps make our work easier. Question 2 was the scope of work of the task force. We looked at geographical and also institution-wise. Geographical, of course, we are working within Uganda. And then institution, we looked at the different groups we can work with. That is the defenders, the community, the indigenous people, the women, the established systems such as the ministry, the local government, the cultural institutions. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. I know for a fact that we may have spoken very fast, and the rapporteur may not have gotten some of the views that have been given, but I am sure with use of technology we'll be able to go back and capture some of the all the issues that have been raised. So thank you so much for taking part in that group work, and within the short time being able to come up with some of those answers. All right. So we also have an online group that has also compiled their answers, and I'm sure these will be submitted to the rapporteur for purposes of reporting to enable her get the whole picture on some of the questions that have been asked. So moving forward, we are now going to move to the constitution of the task force. And by constitution, I'm not talking about the document. I am talking about formulation or forming the task force. And as I already indicated, we have 4 thematic areas. We have security services, psychosocial support, legal assistance, as well as advocacy. So we are going to move thematic group by thematic group. You do not have to suggest only organizations that are here. You could volunteer your organization to be part of this, but you could also recommend that there are specific organizations maybe that are not here that we may need to be interested in to make sure that they constitute part of the LEDTAF. All right. Let's start with thematic area number 1, that's security services. Do we have people who wish to volunteer to be here? Or anyone that you know that provides physical or digital security services that we might need to include here? Hands, show of hands, anyone? Definitely DPI will definitely be part of that thematic group. Yes, any other? Any other? Yes.
Okay, I'm suggesting an organization based in Lira called We2K Gender Initiative. They also do a lot of work on digital security trainings, and the team leader is here. Yeah, they do a lot of grassroots digital security trainings. Yeah.
That's noted. The spelling though, for purposes of record? They know. All right, perfect. That's very okay. Okay. Any other before we leave this thematic group? Any other? Sorry? The National Coalition of Human Rights Defenders, that's also noted. National Coalition of Human Rights Defenders, I know they do a lot of physical and digital security work. All right. Do we vote to move, or are there any other organizations before we leave that bit? The theme? Okay. Yeah. Right now, all we're doing is really making suggestions. Of course, DPI is going to go back and really analyze everything that has happened here, and we'll be able to have a way forward. So definitely, your view has been captured. So DPI is convening the LEDTAF already. Yes, they're convening the LEDTAF, yeah? Specifically why we are here is to really get organizations that are going to support DPI in the execution of this work. So when you suggest all these different organizations, we know that they're going to work with DPI to fulfill, the mandate of LEDTAF, yeah? Okay, please, can we move to the next thematic area? The area of psychosocial support, which is very, very important. Issues of mental health, issues of counseling, issues of having that psychosocial support. Burnout is real. There was someone who talked about burnout. There was someone who talked about stress. And these are things that have the potential of harming human rights defenders, specifically in the land and environment cluster. Do we have any suggestions of organizations that are possibly here, or others that we could potentially approach to provide this service? I can see the hands. But Are these the only ladies? Can we, are these the only ones who are taking part in this discussion? Let us, you know, you're representing everyone.
So I know for me, I know I'm from Lango, so I know in Lira, INET has been doing a lot of psychosocial support. And they are not here, so I think I would vouch for them. So they work in Lango and actually sub-region.
Okay, thank you. Me, I would propose TPO Uganda. Is it Transcultural Psychosocial Organization? But also, where need be, we should include Butabika. Thank you.
Me, I'm nominating ACTV. They are not here, but I think they do a lot of work, especially with torture victims. And we know torture is kind of broad and it affects defenders mostly. And their geographical scope, I think, is also the whole of Uganda, because I understand they are also having a Gulu center. They are having a Kasese center. So I would nominate them. DPI could reach out to SATV as well.
Do we have any other? Oh, yes, yes.
Avis Uganda.
Fred, have you captured that? Avis Uganda.
Thank you. I'm not nominating, but I'm proposing on behalf of my organization. This year, one of the key thematic areas we have included in our operations is peace building and psychosocial support. So I think as the Rice West Nile, we could support in that area. Thank you.
All right, let's move on to the legal services. Yes, to legal assistance or legal services. Do we have suggestions?
I would nominate ourselves, advocates for natural resources and development.
So the advocates for natural resources and development are advocating for themselves, and I think that nomination is okay. Thank you so much for that.
Nominate Youth for Green Communities. They are not here, but
I know. Okay, let's.
CRED.
Yes, CRED, civic response.
I would also advocate for Witness Radio Uganda. It's the organization I work for, Witness Radio Uganda. And this is the kind of work we do. We provide legal assistance to community land right defenders. Thank you.
May I'm asking whether the people you're nominating that are not here, are they partners of DPI or exclusively? Okay.
I think for me, I'll nominate two. That is and Sesford.
Is grade mentioned?
Okay. Oh, okay.
Yes, I will also nominate Greenwatch as we do legal assistance as well. Legal work.
Has that been noted? Has that been noted? Okay.
I have two organizations and also FIDA, especially for issues around GBV and all that come along with land-related issues. Yeah.
Okay, that's noted. Women Pro Bono Initiative as another group that can provide legal assistance and legal services. Do we have any other nomination here before we let go of the matter? No, we do not. We don't really have a ceiling. Some legal support. Okay. Some. Okay. Okay. So, okay. Okay. So I hope we're really taking note of that. Yeah. So there's chapter 4. There's yes, Hilda. ASF, yes. There's also ASF. I forget, that name gives me hard time, but yeah, but for me when they ask for the name in full, I usually say Frontier, you know, to just, yeah, but ASF, thank you so much. All right. Legal Aid Service Providers Network, last, is that what you suggest? Yes, someone has talked about the Legal Aid Service Providers Network. That's LASPNet as one of the others that could provide legal support. Please, colleagues, don't forget that we still have another thematic group, which is on advocacy. So in case you've not yet nominated yourself, there's still another group that, another thematic area. So for instance, Sam, I don't know whether in advocacy, you'll be the first person to nominate your organization. Wait. So have we closed legal? Can we agree that we've closed legal service before we move to advocacy? Right now we are as much as possible suggesting so that we later on, of course, the inner workings, we do not want to soil this meeting with the inner workings of the group, and also right now we're trying as much as possible to suggest, and one of the principles is that this is an open platform. We hope that this is going to be an open platform without so many rules and points of clash, so it's going to definitely be open. You had a question? Or has that been? Yes.
I'm wondering, I think I beg to be correct. When we go back to services, where do we put the culture and the religious group? Because they play a big role in this. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Food for thought about including religious and cultural associations, organizations as part of doing psychosocial support, of course, through many of their not-for-profit institutions that provide this psychosocial support. Yes, Sam.
To me, I think those two groups are a cross-cutting group, because even in legal, they sometimes work as tribunal leaders, and so you can't exclusively put them somewhere, but they can always be reached out for any support.
Okay, briefly before we move.
On her note about religious groups, sorry, I know of World Council of Churches that is involved in climate change issues, so maybe they could consider that. Yeah. World Council of Churches, it has offices here in Uganda. Yeah.
World Council of Churches. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me move to the last thematic group. I hope the silence means that we are accepting to move forward. So, all right, let's do advocacy. And remember, we talked about advocacy is going to be really intensive. There's a lot of documentation in there in terms of research. There's a bit of M&E learning and all that. So, yes, sir.
Once again, I'm recommending in natural resources. Again, I'm recommending 2 more organizations which are vibrant in Albertine region. One is called the Jesse, and there's a so I beg, we are going to work together as a team.
Yeah, I also nominate the organization I work for, a woman for Green Economy Movement Uganda. Wagem.
Say something. Number 1, NAPE should be on the list. I hope they take it up. Global Rights Alert. We have Merak. We have Oil Refinery Residents Association. Chris, we are nominating you. And Hokadeo. Those are my suggestions.
I want to nominate FemNature Arua. And I've also seen African Initiative for Food Security. It's not here. It's been doing some work around research.
I also want to nominate SCORE. SCORE has been doing a good job in RERA and on the pipeline, so I think there will be a good job if they accept.
We consider your nomination.
Very political answer there. Okay, yes, please.
I am nominating Solidarity Uganda. They are here and quiet, and yet they have their all National Land Defense League.
Do you accept the nomination, sir? Or have you received it also like some?
We accept it.
Yeah, thank you. As the Rice West Nile, we also do advocacy. And I also want to say that we prefer also doing that in our West Nile region, advocacy.
Yeah, I accept the nomination for Mirak. However, I was also thinking of nominating another organization for advocacy, and that was the Global Rights Alert. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. I think most of the organizations that have come here falls under that thematic area. But also, as FINASP, that's where we majorly focus on. But I also want to nominate FAPAD in Lira, Facilitation for Peace and Development.
I would like to nominate 2 organizations. One is Horifo in Igulu, and then our organization Gwedji. We deal a lot on advocacy.
Okay, so one more in a few seconds. They're here.
Lemu, why are you very quiet?
That's noted. Picot, please add Picot as well on the bit about advocacy, specifically in West Nile. Can we give ourselves a big round of applause? Hey, we've honestly earned our lunch, but before before we delve into lunch, we have just 2 items that are left. We are going to do a very small activity. I'm going to call it a ritual. We'll have a small activity where we'll be remembering some of our people who are no longer with us, and specifically we'll be remembering a lady called Judy from Lemo, who unfortunately has since passed on. And immediately after we're done with that, I'll invite someone from DPI to wrap this up, who will invite us to do 2 things. He or she will invite us to take a group picture, and then after that, invite us to lunch. So I will request that we stand so that for about 10 seconds or so, while we pay respects to Judy, and to remember the fight that she had while on earth, and to also request that God grant her eternal rest. Let's take a moment of silence. May the soul of the deceased find eternal rest. Amen. All right. We are finally, we've reached the tail end of our business today. I will invite Hilda Achiro, who so many of you know, to come and give us closing remarks. Hilda, you have, on top of what you're going to tell us, you're going to also invite us for the group photo, and thereafter you'll also invite us for lunch. My work here is done. Thank you so much for being an amazing crowd, and yes, we meet again next time. Thank you. Hilda?
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. How are we? How's the meeting been? I would like to take this opportunity on behalf of Defenders Protection Initiative to thank you for honoring our invite to come and attend this meeting, and to thank you for your active participation. It has been a very participatory meeting from the word go to now that we are concluding the day. For those that came from far, we thank you for taking the initiative. Those that came from Kampala, we thank you for taking the initiative to come to our meeting. As DPI, we commit ourselves to make sure that we'll have this task force in place. The land and environmental defenders are among the key human rights defenders that DPI targets. Our mandate is usually safety and security and protection options for the human rights defenders. And we usually target the 5 categories of human rights defenders that are mostly at risk. And land and environmental defenders are one of them, because we know the difficulties that land and environmental defenders go through. But also, one initiative that DPI prides itself in is working through loose coalitions. The loose coalitions may not be recognized by the NGO Bureau, but they have definitely enabled us achieve a great impact in the country. Because through a loose coalition, you get to have ears everywhere. We are a very small team of 7 people. We cannot be in Hoima, be in Apa, be in Kalangala or Karamoja at the same time. But through the loose coalitions that we have ears everywhere. And through these loose coalitions, we empower each other, and we collectively come together and work as a team and address the issues that we face in the civil society. So the LED task force is an addition to the loose coalitions that we already have in place. We have a security working group, those coalition that addresses issues that the key populations face. And it's the same, it takes the same format that we've been going through. Who is able to provide psychosocial, who is able to provide legal. We have the NPO working group on FATIF that also takes the same format. And then we have the Digital Security Alliance. We like to call them our digital doctors. Representatives of them are seated there in the corner. So in case you have any issue with your digital equipment, please pass by that desk. And now on to those three loose coalitions, we are adding on the LED task force. And we hope, and we are very optimistic that we'll be able to address so many issues that the LEDs are facing. Thank you very much for your time. People are already hungry. Let's take a group photo and we go for lunch. Safe journey back home. And lunchtime is for interacting. Let's interact and get to know more about each other. Thank you. One more announcement. Please, you'll pass by our finance executive desk, officer's desk, for a handshake and a meal coupon. You get it from one of us.